We do not, in fact, live in a society. Now, it's controversial to say this. Has echoes of Margaret Thatcher saying there's no such thing as society. She was wrong. There is such a thing as society. It's just in places like London and in big cities in America, they don't have one. And I can show you how they don't have one. And it's the way that people treat one another, because a society is a group of people bound together by some kind of common loyalty. This is an event that happened in Wembley recently, where 2 children assaulted an elderly white parking attendant for no reason. Let's watch the video. I can't stand watching this, but let's do it anyway.
Handle, I broski. How you feeling? How you feeling? Get a handle. Get crumbling. 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 Oh my God. Crumbling. Fumble, bro. Oh! 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 Fedman's getting smoked. Fedman's getting smoked. He smoked the Fed. All right, there, coach. You got smoked. Pick up your hat, blood. Pick up your hat.
Just pure contempt for who that man is.
I mean, the 2 women that were like, "Are you all right?"
Yeah.
Trying to check on him.
Yeah.
The guy filming is just like, "Yeah, pick up your hat."
But the kids doing it don't like that person. They don't care about the person. They're only doing it as a pure expression of power. They're able to do this.
Sure, but I'm more shocked by the chap filming. Like,
why?
The fact that disputes can happen and people can exercise
There's
their
no
power
dispute
like
there.
that. Whatever it is, those things are normal.
What that is bullying.
Yes, these things can happen, but the fact that someone filming would be mocking towards such a person after watching that all play out.
Well, he doubtless knew that was obviously a child, a teenager, filming people that he knew, bullying an old man because they had the power to.
But even if you were a friend of a criminal...
Well, he doesn't view them as criminals.
Well, those guys are criminals. But
Sure.
the guy filming isn't a criminal, let's say. But even as a friend of the criminal, I can't know how you can watch something like that and be like, yeah, I side with them.
Because it's not they side with anyone. There's just no empathy. There's no concern. Okay. There's no there's no first person plural. There's no we there. We aren't anything. You are someone we can mock and we can hurt for our pleasure, and we'll just laugh. You crumbling, blah, blah, blah. It's just funny. It's just funny. A generation of people who are being raised not to consider the people around them as important. That's not a society. That's just people who happen to live in close proximity. And in fact, that makes them a danger to one another. And there's another example of this that was recently happened in Philadelphia, where a passenger on a train, a woman on a train, was raped by a homeless man on a train, and nobody did anything, apart from film it. Apparently, the Pennsylvania train passengers just held up their phones to record this homeless man raping a woman on a train. Almost a dozen of them stood around watching. We know because the CCTV footage shows it. No one intervened. At all. Why wouldn't you intervene? Why would you not do something? Right?
No connections.
Exactly. They don't care. They're not their problem.
I will say, actually, as shameful as it is, there is situations with the American police doing this as well. I can't remember the name of the chap, but it's a very famous video in which he was on the New York subway and the police filmed instead of stopping a man trying to stab him to death. And he managed to survive. He beat up the guy attacking him. But then when he asked the police, well, why didn't you help me? They said, well, no, we're here to record the crime and then take it to court afterwards.
That's not the police's job. But anyway, so moving on to the New York...
that's the way the world works.
Yeah, well, it shouldn't be that way. But anyway, in the New York Post, they report a homeless man raped a woman on a commuter train in suburban Philadelphia in full view of other passengers. Cops said didn't lift a finger to help or even dial 911. The attack happened at 10 p.m. It was captured on surveillance footage. And the superintendent of the Upper Darby Police Department said, were they watching? I don't know. Again, we're still going through the video, but there are lots of people, in my opinion, that should have intervened. Somebody should have done something. It speaks to where we are in society. I mean, who would allow something like that to take place? It's so troubling. And troubling it is because it shows that those people feel they have no obligation to that woman. And if you spend all of your time like essentially breaking down the social structures of local communities that make people feel bound to one another in the, as Scruton would put it, the first person plural we, well, you don't have a we there. They're the you and an I, but no we. And if you get raped by a homeless man on the sub, I'm not getting involved. He might have a knife. He might have a disease. I might get in trouble. I mean, it might be considered a hate crime because he's black or something, Like there's no we here. It's not me. You're not my problem. And that's what I mean when we say we don't live in a society now, or at least some places.
The right and proper thing from us living in a society you would expect is try to stop the guy, and if he pulls a knife or something, bullet in the head.
Sure. But anyway, so this was a chap who eventually was arrested called Fiston Ngoy, 35, a homeless man who had spent literally ages on this train harassing and then raping this woman, just in full view of everyone, and nobody did anything. Again, just is staggering to see, right? He was charged with rape, aggravated indecent assault, and related counts. And another report that I read on this said that basically he'd spent, I don't know, a good portion of the train journey groping and harassing her, and then just tore off her trousers and started raping her for like 9 minutes. And people are just watching. And it's like, there's nobody going to do something about this. It's like, nope, not my problem. So there's going to be no charges for any of the bystanders because it's not illegal to not do anything about this. Prosecutors pursuing the case against the man said that they don't anticipate charging fellow passengers for not intervening. It's still an open investigation, no expectations. The Pennsylvania law does not allow for the prosecution of a passenger who may have witnessed a crime. Investigators say Ngoy ripped the woman's pants off and proceeded to rape her from somewhere to 6 to 8 minutes before officers boarded the train and detained him. It's awful, right?
Do you know it's a crime in France?
Yeah, well, they want to make it a crime here too. So
but the argument's always been the reason we didn't need to do that is because of the societal bonds we had.
Yes.
In France, they didn't have that.
Yes.
And therefore needed to force people by law.
Yeah, well, that's what they're going to do here in Pennsylvania. So State Senator Jim Brewster wants to, a Democrat obviously, wants to bring about a duty to assist bill. If we can get to the next one, John. Brewster wrote in a memo that the legislation would require bystanders to call emergency responders when they see someone who has suffered from physical harm at the scene of an accident or a crime. Why would you need this? You'd need this because these people don't consider themselves to have a shared first-person plural. They're not a we, they're a you. It's an I, it's a me, it's a not you, go away, not my problem, don't want to get involved, right? If approved, the legislation would make it a third-degree misdemeanor to fail to report someone who is in great harm. In his memo, Brewster also referred to this shocking example as a part of the inspiration for it. But again, why do you need this? And this is a coping mechanism. This is what you have once your society has sufficiently disintegrated. Why would that be the case? Well, I mean, you know, there have been a lot of people moving into lots of areas that nobody cares about anymore. And there are just no local communities left in big cities. This is the case. We can see this in America. We can see this in Britain. And no one seems to want to address it. No one wants to say, well, okay, what does that mean? And it means you've got to stop flooding Western countries with people who don't have any particular care or loyalty to the people already living there. How could they have that? They didn't grow up there. They don't know any of the people there. Of course, there's no first person plural. Of course, they're just a bunch of people living next to each other.
That's all true, and I'm not disagreeing, but also urbanization is also going to be driving that as well. I don't know how you...
You say that, but it used to be that the cities, at least in England, had settled communities.
I've never seen it, so...
I know you haven't, but that's why we did a podcast the other day, how I showed that the Cockneys have been driven out of London and are being essentially liquidated as an identifiable group. Like, this is just something that has happened, but it used to be that there were areas of London that were specifically and culturally unique, and they had particular, again, first-person plurals. But this is all being lost because of mass migration. Okay, great. What does that mean? Well, that means now we need excessive vanguard law saying, no, you have to do this in this situation, because otherwise stuff like this happens. And this is just another symptom of the decline of our civilization, when you have to have laws like this.
Yeah. I mean, reducing yourself to the French standard.
Yes, exactly. And that wasn't a good idea then. It's certainly not a good idea now, but there's no other option.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast The Lotus Eaters, you can watch the full thing at 1 p.m. every weekday at lotuseaters.com, or you can sign up to get access to all the premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, we've got loads of really good stuff. Every week we have a Contemplations and Epochs episode that goes up, and in the Contemplations we talk about just interesting things, and the Epochs episodes are probably my favourite because I love talking about history. This latest one is we're doing a bit of a series on the 100 Years' War and why England kept winning. And we've not finished it yet, and you're going to really enjoy the end of that one. But we've also got other excellent episodes that we do, like the book club. The most recent one was Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell. This was about his time in Burma as a colonial officer. and when he was tasked with the shooting of a rampaging elephant. And it's really, really interesting what the circumstance of the thing was. But we also have lots of other content, such as premium articles, which have audio tracks on them for our silver and gold subscribers. And we do premium podcasts about things that we don't really feel that we can put on YouTube or have done a particularly large amount of research into. And so it's worth keeping them slightly more private. And we also do lots of very interesting interviews, such as this one with comedian Steve Hughes, which was really fascinating because I didn't expect him to be a philosopher. But anyway.
Yeah. Also, the last thing to mention is the live event content we have. So we occasionally, when we get around to it, doing our live events, and the videos from them are on the website as premium, of course, because people came to see and paid. So go and check that out. This is on the worst of critical race theory.
Yes.
And I do mean the worst.
It's unconscionable.
Yeah. So if you'd like access to all that premium content, go to lotuseaters.com and subscribe. Thank you and goodbye.